Are you ready to get started? All right, so we're going to dive into Focus 1, where, as many of you probably know and are very aware, there can be a lot of things that you do up at the national, international, state, or wherever you are. And then there's a lot of things that your chapters do, when it comes to engaging members, conducting events and activities and workshops and all the great things that you want them to do. So we are going to work with Diane Majors of the Customer Experience Professionals Association. So Diane, if you would like to come on up. Today, she'll be walking you through some journey mapping activities to show where some of those activities and things that you do start to intersect and where they overlap and where there might be opportunities that exist and where there might be some things that you can start to change or improve as you work through your strategy sessions.
Fantastic. Uh-oh, now you're in trouble. You handed me the thing. Hey, it's so great to be with you guys here today. I want to let you know that I also live in your world. As CEO of this association, you can imagine the expectations for an association like this, right? We're chief customer officers, chief experience officers, and we also have a model where we have networks. So part of that question at the beginning is, what do you do? We have a kind of informal network group, so I totally understand the pain between us as a parent association and what our local networks do. So part of what we're going to do today is really explore that, and I'm really super excited to get some of your ideas because we're facing the same challenge. So let's get started. If my husband were here, by the way, he would say, listen fast, because I talk fast, and they gave me a cappuccino. So it's like hammy, you know that hammy thing? So let's get started. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about experiences and where things are headed today. So part of my background is I started as a clinical psychologist, so I've been in this whole human behavior thing for a long time. So when I say, I want you to you can trust me, close your eyes. Close your eyes. I want you to think of an experience you had with an organization or brand where you were either wowed or it's the horror story you tell everybody. Got it in your head? What did you, okay, open your eyes. Now you're going to cock-a-doodle, no, I'm kidding. It's fun for me when you close your eyes, I watch the audience. I can actually tell physically if you were thinking of a positive or negative emotion, an experience. Did you feel that emotion over again, right? That's why experience is so important. It's not really about the rational, which we're going to talk about. It's about that emotion that you carry and how it impacts your organization. Let's talk a little bit about that. For those of you who don't know, about 85% of what we do is subconscious. It's not rational and conscious, and by the way, for everybody, that's women and men. Okay, so just don't get... 85% of what we do is subconscious. Well, what does that mean exactly? It's the perception, it's all the things that we take in when we're doing something. Take a look at this picture. This is from a hotel, not this hotel, a hotel that I recently stayed at. I took a picture of the hangers in the closet. What do you notice about these hangers? Do you see that little rod? It's about this big, and the hooks are about this big. Why is that? What's the subconscious message behind that? I don't trust you. Right? So we have to be very careful when we're designing experiences that we think about these things. Somebody operationally said, they're stealing our hangers, we got to do something so they don't steal our hangers because we're losing money. When they traded that off for people not going to come back, you won't say in your head, I'm not coming back here because of that, but your subconscious, my husband says it's the lizard brain, registers that. We do that every day with brands. Every interaction we have, we're counting that into our bank account. Here's another example. I go all over the world doing workshops like this. I have a lot of needs. I have to carry a lot of things with me, a lot of sticky notes. You'll see all the stuff on the table, right? So I need all those things close to me. I need a shoulder bag so my hands are free. I need to get inside that bag quickly. I usually get a cotton canvas tote, much like this beautiful blue one that matches my eyes, by the way. This blue one that I'm going to carry, I could carry things in. But does it really meet my emotional needs? I need to have the latest fashions. I want a beautiful piece of art by my side. I want to reward myself. These are my emotional needs. Now, do both of those things do the same thing? They do, right? But why do we spend more? We pay more to brands and engage more with brands that meet our emotional needs. So part of what we're going to explore today as we walk through this is, what are those things going on in your association and with your members that will engage them so that the value that they get out of your association is bigger and they're willing to pay more and stay longer and refer people? That's what we're after. Everything we do as a company, as an association, brands you think about, USAA, Southwest Airlines, those folks, Apple, those people are kind of up here when you think about experiences. They know that everything they do drives these emotions. And we crazy human beings that we are, those emotions, if you think about the experience you had in your head, you either tell others, you don't go back, you go onto social media and blast them, you stay longer, you might volunteer more for an association. That drives the business results. So customer experience isn't a fuzzy thing. It's about how we engage people to drive our brand value, so your association value, your chapter value. And it's more than just about customers. It's about employees, all the people, volunteers. How many of you have a volunteer management program? Yes? So it's all about how you engage all of those audiences. We're going to talk about design thinking. How many of you have done journey mapping before? Oh, not very many. Okay, this is new. So this is just a technique that's a really good way to dig into what's going on, and it's a design thinking technique. So design thinking is this crazy way to say, rather than building something and pushing it out as an organization, you actually start with, what do your people need? Simply a reversal. Outside in, we call it. It's kind of messy, so you're going to feel a little bit like, well, I'm not quite sure what this is, and there could be a lot of options and all that. That's totally cool. That's part of what design thinking is all about. So hang with us today. Many organizations, and we are so guilty of this even what we do, we see an opportunity and we just go fix it. How many of you do that? Like, oh, I got it. I love to fix stuff. Design thinking kind of fits in the middle of that. It's kind of pausing and saying, you know what, let's really understand what's going on here. We can fix a lot of things, but are we fixing the right thing? Design thinking is just a way for you to get into that psyche, into those emotions, and really understand what's happening. There's lots of tools and techniques. If you want some resources, I'm happy to provide them to you. Text me. I'll send you some little booklets and there's lots of little techniques and exercises you can do to get into this. These are just some of them. What is journey map? So we're going to do journey mapping. So I want you to just think about this in a very simple way. It is simply a way to say, rather than process design that we do. How many of you have done process design? Just kind of wording out what's happening. We're going to start with telling the story about the member or volunteer's journey with your association. Think about your life this morning. How many brands did you touch this morning? Did you go to a convenience store? Did you go to Starbucks? All those interactions with brands, that's the journey we take in our life. What we want to do is kind of understand that journey, so when we look at the interactions you're having with our association headquarters or with the network, what's that like? How do we understand it? So it's just a technique to understand that. It really helps us bring this member story to life. We do this a lot, obviously, as an association that does this for a living. We do this a lot because it helps us get into what's really going on. What's that person thinking? What emotions are we driving? How's that driving our business results? So journey maps are just physical. So on your table, that little rolled up thing, two things into the little rolled up thing, spread apart. You're going to use the sticky notes, so don't move those, but open that up and kind of spread that open. These are your weapons. We are going to look at, when we do this mapping, so this will make more sense afterwards probably. When we do this exercise, we're looking for 4 eyes. Not 4 eyes like it's in 4 eyes, but 4 eyes. We're looking for insights into the member's experience, what they need and want from you. We're looking for innovation. We're going to do a little innovation exercise so you can kind of see, oh my gosh, I can really brainstorm around this. We're looking for issues or opportunities. Why did they have to register here when they could register here? Where's the content? Why is the content over here and not here? Is it all centralized somewhere? What are the issues or opportunities you have? And then what's the business impact of that? Don't kid yourself, associations are businesses, right? We have a budget, you know this. It's how are we driving membership and volunteer and engagement with the organization? Oops, you can take a picture? Yeah. You'll get these slides, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, so don't bother. You don't have to write. I want you to focus on learning, and then you can go back and review it later. It'll make more sense. Some people ask me, how is it different from process design? Here's an example. If you need to ship a package and you don't know where the store is, you go look it up online. You get in the car and you drive to the store. You enter the store, you prep your package, tape it up, walk up to the counter. Maybe you have an account there or you don't. You pay the person and you leave the package. How's that seem? Seems pretty good, right? Everybody looks at it and goes, our processes are great. There you go. We're shipping a package. Let me add something to it. We silly humans. Silly, silly humans. Human behavior. Read the story really quickly before we get into this so you kind of understand what we're trying to dig into. Read Sophia's story. Okay, I know in your little head you're solutioning. What are you fixing? What are you fixing? All the red things. All the red things. No, we don't want those red words. Fixing the signage. A little issue with the employee, maybe some training, something going on there, right? Hiring differences. But think about this. How will you understand what your members are going through? You can look all day long about what you do and what you put out there and all your content, but what's the experience like? And do you think Sophia would fill out a survey? This is a challenge that we have. So consumers today aren't telling you. They're telling you with their behavior. They're telling you. So the ability for us to kind of crawl in and understand this is what we're going to do today with this technique called journey mapping. Okay? You on board? All right, let's rock and roll. We're going to take a little bit different perspective. So I want you to kind of step outside your association a little bit and step into the shoes of one of a member of an association. Set the stage for you. This is the association, so this is we're kind of set up a scenario here. This is the association. Take just a few minutes to read and step inside this association. PR communications, 100 chapters, due range, how their chapters are organized, how this chapter is organized. Now, in your book, you have this in your book, so I know you can't read this eye chart. So open up your book. And you are going to put yourself, this is what we call a persona. That's a fancy term for saying this is the archetype or type of person that we're going to be. So we're literally going to transform ourselves into Christina's. Okay? Read a little bit about Christina. She's the member. I try to pick kind of a typical interaction with an association and a chapter. So we're going to put ourselves in Christina's shoes today and really be thinking about what is her experience like as she traverses between the National Association and her chapter. This is a journey. This is also in your book, your little Bible, as I heard it referred to. So take a look at this steps. So the first thing you're doing when you're mapping is saying, what are the steps? What is she going through? Tell the story, right? So she attended a chapter event as a guest and picked up a membership info at the chapter. She joined the national chapter through her employer. She opted into national and chapter emails, e-letters, and publications. She attended an awards gala. She became a chapter BOD leader. A BOD leader invites her to join, to volunteer. She attended a chapter annual conference. She entered and won the chapter awards program. She co-chaired the conference. She was elected to the chapter board of directors. And she met a new employee on the chapter board of directors. So this is just a story. First thing we do is come to the story. Think about your chapter and your association. Like, what are the typical journeys that somebody takes with your association? What steps do they go through? Okay, so that's kind of setting the stage. What you'll see on the table in front of you, I'll use you guys as the Vanna. Can you be my Vanna? Where's the story on here? Across the top, right? So we're going to set the stage there. So the journey's across there. And what we're going to do is kind of dig in a little bit to what this journey is like. And don't worry, I'm just going to turn you loose. The way this works is we're going to explore some of these questions. So I pulled some. You may have in your own, like, how do I keep people in the chapter, or how do I drive them to certain content within the association? So here's some things that we get challenged with at our association. And thinking through other things that you might have challenged. You know, what are the intersections between the chapter and the association? Where do you have that? This is a chapter thing, association. What's that intersection between those two? What are the opportunities for the chapter and the association to better engage that member? Right? So these are just kind of the open questions we have. You probably have more on your own, like, I don't understand how that works. What do they experience when they go to the association versus the chapter? That's what we're going to explore today. So we kind of start with the business questions, if you will. I'm going to take you through one step at a time. What do you notice about this bike? It has no pedals. Why does it have no pedals? Teaches them balance. So I was unfortunate enough before this was invented to have to learn to pedal and balance at the same time. That's all the scars on the knees, by the way, and the head, right? So this is the same thing when you're learning a new technique. It's kind of step by step by step, and engaging hands-on activities are the best way adults learn. So I'm going to take you through step by step of this one at a time. So we're going to go across, and we'll do, they call these swim lanes, right? Look at this. Does it look like a swimming pool? Because they call them swim lanes. We're going to go across one swim lane at a time. And you might think I'm a little crazy when you look at the colors and the sticky notes, but what this helps you do when we're done, you'll be able to step back and take a look at all those things, because the different colors will kind of color code you there. So trust me, at the end it'll make a little bit more sense. You also have the key diagram. So I would ask you to kind of, and the colors might not quite match, not a big deal if you use a different color. We'll try to stay with the same color when we go to each of those swim lanes. And those are on your table. All right, the first thing we're going to do, so the first swim lane is needs, emotions, expectations. So the first thing we do, rather than going to process and other than what's happening, what the member's doing, is what are they thinking and feeling during that interaction? So think about yourself when you're walking along. It's that voice in your head. You have that, right? Y'all have that? I'm not just crazy? Okay. We're thinking, what are they thinking and feeling? And literally putting things in quotes, or the emotion that they're feeling. So as she's walking through, Christina's walking through this journey, all across there. Kind of start here. Everybody pick up a blue sticky note and a pen, and just start thinking about if she attends a chapter event as a guest, what's she thinking? What's she feeling? I'm nervous to go in there. I don't know what to expect. I hope there's value here. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. We'll time you, and then we'll hit the music button. The music will play, and when the music stops, then we're going to stop and go to the next swim lane. Okay? I only have one rule. Well, I have a lot of rules. Hang on, guys. One rule. When you write something on a sticky note and you put it on the journey, say it out loud. This is a brainstorming technique. When you hear other people's ideas, it's the yes and. Yes and what else? Or this. It'll stimulate your mind too. It's just a great facilitation technique. Okay? Are you ready? You know what you're supposed to do. Feelings, what's going on in the bubble above her head as she walks through each of these stages. So you can clear it down here. Start at the beginning. You can kind of all contribute. Just work as a team to fill it in.
And we can have multiple stickies.
Multiple stickies. As many stickies as you can. What was the key takeaway? What did you discover? Yeah, looking at the whole end-to-end and upstream and downstream things. One over here said, I didn't realize coming in she had these needs to be recognized. If I'd have known that, I could have given her more things about awards or whatever else, right? So it's understanding all through that journey what those needs are. Anything else in that particular exercise? Have you ever thought about what your member's thinking and feeling? I mean, we do kind of, but not in a formal way. So this is just a good way to explore that. All right, if you run out of stickies, raise your hand, because I know some of you were overachievers. It's great, the more the better. And I'll tell you also, what we're going to do is take every single one of these and we're going to digitize them and give it back to you. So all these great ideas you have and how it's going to be modeled, you'll get this back. We'll take pictures of them so you can, and you should take pictures before we go, but just know we're going to collect all of them, give them back to you. Okay, next one. What contributes to the experience? You'll see down below, it's the people and things the members come in direct contact with along the journey and other things that influence them. This might be social media. This might be conversations with another member. Why we do this, we want to gain understanding of who and what is influencing that experience. You want them to do a specific thing? What are all the things that are going on? So what this looks like is, it might be content or policies. You guys all have policies, right? Sometimes our policies get in our way of the member experience. It might be other members, the process itself, right? The payment, how they pay, how they get their badges, whatever that is, all those things. So what's contributing to it? Use your green sticky. Now there's 2 colors green, so just pick. I don't really care. Colors are important, but we're not married to anything. So pick the darker green that you have, and let's do the same thing along the entire journey or swim lane. What's going on? Go. I want you to think about this particular swim lane. So here's an example. When you walk into a Starbucks, What are all the things that have to be considered and come together to create that experience? Pricing, menu, hiring, the fact that they say your name, that's training, right? That doesn't happen by accident. All the product that's there, the music, the design of the store, the cups, the little sticky things in the cup. All those are things that contribute to the experience. And there's a whole bunch of people off stage, purchasing agents, pricing, supply chain, that also contribute to that experience. So this is a chance to dig in and say, she's having that experience like the awards. There are forms and policies and procedures and workflows and approvals and communication. All of that contributes to the experience. And sometimes if you think about the experience I ask you to think about, it's the smallest thing, micro interaction, that can totally turn an experience around, positive and negative. Okay, ready to move on? Here we go, next swim lane. So this is your bright green, and those of you who have gone rogue, I don't care what color you use, right? If you run out, let us know. We'll get there. So hang on before you get started. So this one is defined as opportunities. So you've already probably gone to solutioning. I heard some of you solving the problem. And one thing about design thinking is staying in the customer's shoes so you understand all the things that are happening before you go to solution. So what you're really digging into in those two first swim lanes is what's really going on? What's the opportunity? So now it's your chance to say, not solution, what's the opportunity? Defining the pain point that leads us to the cause. Whether it's a pain point or a best practice, hey, this is really working well. We need to make sure all of our chapters are doing that. So you're looking for opportunities, and we want to see that from the member's viewpoint. So write these in the member's viewpoint. Things like, I wish I got an update to where my award application was. You know, I put my application in and 2 months later, I get a yes or no. And what does that yes or no look like? So the opportunity would be how improving communications. So just a high-level opportunity. Improve association chapter comms, information is hard to find. So you're kind of taking those missed needs and saying both functional and emotional, what are the opportunities that you have? Again, don't solution, just a list of opportunities. Go. It's a little bit harder, right? You're seeing, here's all the things she's thinking in her wants and needs. You're talking a little bit about, what's contributing to that experience, and this is your statement of opportunity. A good way to think about this is, what would she be telling you if she was sitting in front of you? I need you to give me more information along this process. I need you to guide me. So those needs create those opportunities. Okay, let's ready for the next one. Whoops. Understanding the why. So skip the vision and innovation. We need to understand the why. We want to define the pain point. Right? So this is a little bit about, why is this opportunity exist? Why is it an opportunity? The web content is arranged in an intuitive way, or there's no coordinated communication plan. You're kind of looking for the root cause of why she's feeling that way, or why the opportunity exists. Don't start yet. Let me give you a couple of techniques. Again, remember, you're going to get this deck. There's a couple of techniques that I want to give you that are really easy. You probably already know some of these. Have you ever used the 5 why? Okay, so 5 why technique is you just ask why. 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times till you get to it. So she has this need, or here's the opportunity. Why does that exist? Because the content's not there. Why is the content not there? We don't have anybody to coordinate it. Why don't we have anybody to coordinate it? We can't afford it. Like, whatever those are, the more you ask why to dig in, you'll get to the root cause. So that's one. So there's the kind of, why is it happening? Why is that? Why is that? You just keep asking the why until you get to it. Act like a 2-year-old, Why? There's also another technique. We won't use this one, but just so you know that's in here, it's called what, why, how laddering. Like, what's the problem? And then you just bust down this big rock. Just keep saying, this could cause it, this could cause it, this could cause it, this could cause it. Right? What are all the things that could contribute to it? Use the 5 why because it's easier, but I wanted to give you a bonus there. So here's the example. So now we're going to go into the why. Look at your opportunity and say, why does that exist? Why does that opportunity exist? Or the pain point or problem, or however you stated it. Okay? Go. I love this part of it. Like, everybody's so like, I'm going to fix this stuff. Was that harder? Isn't it? Like, you're trying to get to, well, okay, so communications are poor. Why is that? She's not being communicated. She's not being invited to the chapter when she joined National. She's not getting an update on where her award is. Why? That why will help you develop a springboard for where you're headed. So now, before we go to solutioning, another design technique is called a victory circle. I want you to take your sheet here, now that you guys know, you got this down, right? Turn this over. Somebody, one person, grab the card. Somebody be the Vanna. I want you to draw on the page a big circle, just a big circle. Use one of the colored markers, just draw a big circle in the middle of this. What happens in a lot of organizations when you go back and think about that bad experience you had in your brain this morning, it was because it was not intentionally designed, right? Somebody didn't say, here's what I want the experience to be. Or if you had a good experience, somebody said, here's what I want that person to think and feel during the experience. That's what design thinking helps you do. So what we're going to do is say, well, what do we want it to feel like? So this technique is about understanding if we're going to create a delightful experience, these are the top 7 things that consumers want today when they think about experiences. It's simple, saves me time, makes my life easier. Yes, 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 right? We're all saying, oh, that's what I want. So if you don't define what you're after and what you want the experience to be like, how are you going to know when you get there? So part of this exercise is a victory circle. So now here we go again, draw a dotted line down the middle, just like this, functional and emotional. I know, it's stretching. I'm not asking you to draw. Do you remember the PERS scenario? Remember the PERS scenario? Functional need, emotional need. What I want you to do is for 5 minutes, I want you to brainstorm on what are all the functional needs. She's able to find information she wants. She's able to get the knowledge of where her award is. She knows exactly what certification to choose. It's your target goal. It's what you want functionally for her to experience. Emotionally, what do you want to create? Engagement with the organization. Simple, easy, fun. What emotionally do you want her to feel as she goes through this? Because then we're going to design to this experience these targets. 5 minutes, functional, emotional. I don't care if you use stickies or you just write it on there. Go. Somebody shout out one of the functional needs. Functional need. Shout it out. You don't have to.
Professional growth.
What? Professional growth. What?
Single sign-on.
Single sign-on. Access to resources. Succession planning. Knows where her career is headed.
Practical takeaways from meetings.
Practical takeaways from meetings. What about the emotional side? Give me recognition. Valued. Connection. Predictive. Addictive. Thank you. What else? Confident.
You get dopamine hits every time.
What this allows you to do is as you design a new experience, you go back and use this as a checkpoint. When I design a new experience, did it meet these functional and emotional needs I just identified? Is it easy? Was it fun? Did I guide them? Did I make it productive? Did I think about their professional career? You're just targeting that whole piece. So it's always a way. Many organizations do this holistically and say, these are the things as an organization we're going to use as our guidelines to create better experiences. And they create design principles and all kinds of things. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
A lot of the time it can feel like these two things are at odds. Like,
Yes.
I have a member or chapter leader who's looking for me to meet them emotionally or functionally, and it's on me to figure out which they need or to try to do both.
Yeah. So what I'll say, her question was, how do I both? There's some things that are both. How do I meet both functional and emotional needs? Because sometimes there's just stuff that's going to be, that's functional, but the emotional might not be so great, right? So you just have to choose. If you don't get the functional basics right, the emotional stuff isn't going to matter. If you've ever gone somewhere and somebody didn't just meet, just do it. Like if you call a call center, anybody had this where you call a call center and it's like, oh my God, stop reading the script.
Yeah.
Right? So they didn't even meet my basic needs of resolve my issue quickly, let alone make me feel like I'm a very welcome member. So sometimes you think about functional, you got to have the basics, got to get the basics right. So think about that. Okay, so that's the target. I'll also tell you, oops, before we cheat, I'll also tell you the power of this. Imagine if you were doing this with a group of people from IT, communications, your association leadership, right? Because think about all, I'm not kidding, but what I'm telling, the best thing about that is you're like, oh my gosh, it'll be like a free-for-all. What happens is when you're doing this, your target is about the member. And so people leave their little sandboxes behind. Because it's not you pointing fingers and saying, go do this. It's how are we going to improve the experience? So completely deflects anybody's bringing in. If they're going to argue it's not about the member experience, they don't belong in your association. So it's a good facilitation technique for you to bring people together that way. Okay? And I encourage you to do that. So now we get to solution. This is the hardest part of this, is keeping people in that thing without going, hey, we could do this, we could do that. No, let's understand the experience first. That's what this is. So here's the innovation technique. If time, money, and effort were no object, now I know that's not reality, but if. So what this allows the brain to do is to take off all those constraints you have in your head. If time and if Jeff Bezos came to you, or Richard Branson came to you and said, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of money, I want you to go and redo this association, you'd go, okay, here's where we are. Now, is it based in reality? No. But what it does do is allows you to take those shackles off and really think about what you would do if those weren't constrained. Because you're going to find things you can go do, or guidelines or ways that you can think about it differently. So what I'm interested in now in the vision and innovation, the bright orange, just generate as many ideas as you can. I don't care if you pick one thing and drill down into it and come up with many ideas, or just innovate all the way across. Totally up to you and your table. Go. Did you feel the difference in doing that swim lane than the other ones? Right, the energy, usually when that starts, the energy level just goes up another notch in the room, because people have an opportunity to really think about and generate all those great ideas. Now, you have to hit reality at some point, but what this allows you to do is to say, take a component of one of those great ideas, or use it as a guideline to say, eventually we want to get there, and here's the things we're going to do to get there. You would actually take those opportunities and go design them, purposefully design them. Whole nother session, right? Whole nother session. But well, the last thing we want to do really quickly, and then we'll open it up for some questions and just some summation, is what's the impact of the association? So let's say you chose one of those things, or all along the journey. If you were to improve that experience, what would be the impact of the association to the member, right? Thinking, I'm getting the best mix of benefits. She would attend more, and she would impact. Remember that whole emotions, drive behavior, drive business results, right? So what's the financial impact if you were to improve her experience all through the journey to the organization? Things like acquire new referrals, or reduce support costs, increase revenue, right? Think about all those things. We'll give you just a couple minutes to do this. Just kind of say all along the journey, what are the things you could impact for the association? 2 minutes. You have just been through a intense, hyper intense session. Usually journey mapping, design thinking, doing this particular exercise could take a day, 2 days, a week, right? You think about how you would dig into all the things going on. So don't think you can do this in an hour and go, now we got all the problems solved in the world. This was just a little scrape to get you engaged and kind of show you a different way to approach how you're designing your experiences for your members. So let's do just a little bit of summary about what we learned. All of this is in your book, right? What were the objectives of journey mapping? Gaining empathy. Understand what's currently going on in your association. Reframing the opportunity or the problems. Envisioning that future experience. What do you want it to be? Creating a plan of action, which you would do out of this. And then you would go and pilot, iterate, kind of figure it out. So these are just some things that after you do journey mapping that you want to dig into, but then go and do. Take a few minutes to think about the opportunity. I want you to use your workbook. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to take this particular opportunity and say, not only what in your own journey would happen, just write that in your notes section, but also take some time to reflect. What are next steps for you? What ideas do you have of how you could leverage it? What are your takeaways? Okay, so just go in your book and use what you have in this energy and what's in your brain right now to do that. Okay, let's wrap this first focus one up. Okay. Somebody want to share a key takeaway or a next step?
Now we've got these big, what we call rocks that we're working on. And I guess I've never thought about looking at them from the member spot. You know, it's always, well, National knows best, but, you know.
And being able to break it down.
Break it down, yeah. So this is, I mean, very helpful.
I want to look at it. I feel like we know a lot about what our leaders do, like the board members at our components, but not necessarily the folks that are underneath them, and helping that experience and building that connection to bring their journey forward.
That's often even people like in finance and billing and accounting in your association. They impact the experience too, right? The format of the bill, or when they communicate, how they communicate. So that's the importance of bringing a cross-functional team that represents all your different business components from every level, top down. Yeah.
No, one of the things that, and this is really new for our association, is the whole bringing the different departments together, and you kind of mentioned that there, is that we never had this collaboration. And so getting the perspectives of each of the different areas to say, why do you think that is? And in your connection with the members, what is the reason they're not doing what you need them to do?
Exactly.
And let's talk about it across all of the different areas.
Yeah. That's what you'll hear in organizations today. We hear CEOs say three things: agility, collaboration, innovation. You think about all the disruption that's happening in the marketplace, that's what CEOs are looking for. These exercises are a way to do that. They're just a technique. They're not the panacea answer at all, but it's a technique to bring cross-functional teams together.
Say those 3 words again.
Agility, innovation, and collaboration. Forbes recent study, you can look it up. CEOs in the New Age or something it's called. I'll give you the resource. That's what this can help you do, because if you remember in the design process, it was let's go design something and let's go test and pilot and iterate on it, right? This very, very agile, not agile as in software development, but agility as an organization. How do you move faster? Journey mapping can be used in a lot of different ways. I call it putting different lenses on a journey map. If you were to imagine to say put all of your members' needs across the top and then your current programs next to it and look for the disconnect. Are those programs meeting those needs? Functionally and emotionally, right? There's lots of different ways. Or your IT systems, right? Or your processes, or your policies, or anything else. You can use a swim lane for anything to look at it across the journey based on the customer's needs. Yes, one more.
Good morning, everyone. Lindsay Curry from RAPS.
Hi, Lindsay.
So one of the things a little bit more in the weeds that we're finding, but we are often in conflict with our IT departments. And so they always say, well, we're not getting any complaints. That actually means you are not providing anything valuable enough for them to fight for. So don't assume no calls is a good thing.
I think if you marry what they're calling now, it's called net analytics. It's all you do, everything a member does in the app, everything they do online, everything they do on the web, because surveys and feedback are a little harder to get. It's marrying those two things together. And sometimes IT doesn't realize it. Sometimes you have to bring them that customer voice or even data to say, look at the data. 40 members coming to the site, going to this page, and then they're picking up the phone and calling the care center or saying, I can't find what I'm looking for. You got to bring their voice into it. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of things. One, journey mapping. There's a website called designingscx.com. And there is a learn it yourself kind of approach. There's tools, techniques, a facilitation guide. Kind of just one way to look at it. Journey mapping is done in a whole bunch of different ways. But it does have some awesome, great resources. There's also an employee experience map. Thinking about your employee as a member, as a customer of your brand, your association. And then at CXPA.org, our organization, we're a group, again, an association, nonprofit, that supports chief customer officers, chief digital officers, folks who are designing experiences every day. There's a lot of stuff that's public that you can provide tools, resources, discussion forums, with member programs, so lots of things. You can go look there and see if there's anything there as well. Any questions? Questions? I'm going to be here most of this morning and this afternoon off and on. If you want time to talk or you want my contact information's there. If you want to just send me a quick email and say I'd like to talk more about it, happy to discuss. But any questions? They want coffee.
Big round of applause.